you very much, John. I think you've really helped me understand what's going on from your point of view. Jordan, can we hear about your point of view now?
Yeah, I mean, I know Jim, who's John's boss, who's ultimately my boss. And Jim brought me in because I've worked with him in the past on different projects. And as John said, I'm known for doing video, for doing advertising video, so commercials, things like that, but also content for the web. And this is what I've done for many years. So I have a fair amount of experience, a considerable amount of experience. And John and I met, and I think perhaps we have different styles. I think that's kind of obvious. There's no question. I come in late and I leave early, but I also work 24 hours a day. And in my world, in what I do, I'm not an office person. I don't live in that. Anybody can reach me whenever they need to. We shoot on different times. I'm meeting with different people at different times. And I'm always reachable. So my job is to create content, but I get the content from the client. Now, that sounds easy enough, but if I go and shoot something, so if I make a commercial and then there's changes made after the fact, that's a new cost. So it makes sense that we want to have everything clearly outlined, that the client is happy with everything before we go to shoot. What's happened is there's been more and more revisions and changes because I think the company has expanded so much, which is exciting. And I think this deadline, this 3-month deadline, is looming, that it is hard to try and keep on top of some of these things that I would need to know in detail by the time we go to shoot. And if I don't have them, time is money. So John and my approach clearly has been a problem. I think we were both excited about the work, both excited about the project. We both have a great relationship with Jim. But how I am doing my job is a problem for him. And the problem I have is the way I do my job has already been road tested, so to speak. So I know what I'm doing. And so how do I fit into somebody else's system who doesn't know how to make commercials so I can make them based upon somebody not knowing how to make commercials? I don't know how to do that. I would like to make everybody happy, but realistically speaking, I'm not really sure how to do that. So that's where it seems to me where we're at, unless I'm...
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
how is
because
that
I'm
been?
like I'll say, I'm just worried that we're not going to be ready for the product launch, right?
It-
And if it doesn't go through, then I don't even want to think about what's going to happen after that.
And I would
Because the
say,
investors, everyone, are looking forward to this, and it has, like I said before, has to be flawless.
and I would add to that, it's not in my interest to have all of these years as successful in this business to have something fall through. I think, John could spend less time worrying and more time doing. And I think there's a certain amount of anxiety that's being projected onto me that I can appreciate. And to be frank, I wonder if John and Jim should have a mediation to talk about why I was hired, because I'm not sure John's comfortable with that decision, of which I have no part in, right? So that has to be separated from our working relationship. I can't deal with anybody's worry. I can only deal with what are the stages and the things what are the beats we need to hit in cinematic terms. And if we are able to do that, then we will absolutely make those deadlines. Spending time worrying isn't going to do anything for us. So I'm good if we put together a plan, organize deadlines based upon certain time frames, but he has to meet them. Because ultimately, I'm a guy filming what they want. That's basically what it is. But if that is prolonged, if that period becomes protracted, then I have no control over that because I'm not the boss. Above me is John and above him is Jim. So this is where I'm at. I have the least amount of power, but it's being treated that because I come in late and I work different hours, that's the problem. That's not the issue as far as I'm concerned, and I say that because it has never been the issue in the past.
Okay, thank you for that. John, is there anything that you've been hearing that you would like to respond to, or are you good for me to give kind of?
Well, I don't think I
my
have any issues
perceptions?
with Jim, right? I don't know where that's coming from. right? My challenges are directly related to my relationship right now with Jordan.
Okay.
Like Jim and I are friends for the last 2 decades, right? Our kids go to school together. We've been best men. He's been the best man at my wedding, right? So I actually don't appreciate that Jordan is making that assumption.
So maybe you could ask Jordan where that does
Yeah,
come from.
where does that come from, Jordan?
It comes from what you said earlier. And this actually is good because this highlights the fundamental problem. When I say something, I clearly mean one thing, which is you mentioned to Joni that I was kind of put on you, right? That it wasn't, you were told that I was good, you were told that I could do this, but it was ultimately Jim who made the call. So I got the impression from that you weren't happy with the result of that, which is something that you would talk to Jim about, not to me about. So then I said, maybe you and Jim should talk, and you basically said, I don't appreciate that. I find that confusing. This is kind of the problem we keep on ending up in, where I'm saying left and he's saying, I don't want to go right. And I'm thinking, I didn't say that. This is not what I was intending. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm not criticizing their relationship. I'm not saying they're not friends. I'm not saying they haven't been friends for 20 years. I'm not devaluing anything. I'm saying my narrow relationship between Jim and myself as a person brought into this, that's an issue for John. And now,
So if I understand what you're saying, it's that you're feeling like the basis of the conflict between you is that you feel like maybe you were pushed onto John by Jim, and maybe that's really an issue between them.
I think it's more fundamental to the communication. If I'm doing a commercial and I say, are we doing this? And he'll say, well, no, I don't want you to do that. I get no answer. If I say, I think we're going to go left on this, he's like, well, I'm not happy with that, go right. Then we have no plan. So if I say to him, just as this example, I think you and Jim should have a conversation about hiring me because you're not happy with that. And he says, I'm offended by you saying that. That is a total communication breakdown. So how do those two people make a commercial?
Right.
Because if I say, are we going to shoot in this location? I don't think we should shoot in that location. Well, are we going to use this? I don't think we should use that. So there's antagonism on some level going on that I can't do my job because of that, because we're just not hearing each other. And that's what I'm kind of throwing my hands up in the air saying, listen, I just shoot what you want, right? So you got to tell me what you got to know. You got to not spend your time worrying. You got to be a closer and do it because that's what I am. So it's like we get stuck on the treadmill, and I just think, just make a call and let's go forward.
So John, can you tell us what you just heard Jordan saying?
What I've heard Jordan say is what I'm hearing is that Jordan's frustrated with the lack of communication, the breakdown between us, that we have opposing, we sort of have an antagonizing sort of communication between each other. If he says go right, I say go left, and it is a big obstacle right now for us to meet our deadline. So clearly this needs to be sorted out. We need to come to some sort of understanding that's going to help us move forward.
Yeah, because I think that kind of going out to, oh, he's you're making kind of an assumption now that he's upset with Jim for kind of overselling you or whatever. But you've got a 3-month deadline. This thing has to happen. You need to sort this out together now, and that's what we're here for. So,
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
If that's okay. So Jordan, you mentioned that I tell you what needs to be done, and then you just go and execute, right? You're the expert, right? I have no background in video production and making commercials and whatnot. So when you ask me for advice, it's hard for me to just tell you, okay, yes, this is what it should be, this, because I'm good at specific tasks, right? Leading my team, but and helping grow this organization from different areas in marketing, but for you, you're the expert for video production, right? So like when you ask me, you know, hey, should I do this? Should I do that? You know, I might give you an answer, but I don't know, right? So this is where I feel like you should just take charge and do it, right? You know, we've sort of given you this vision of what we want, and you know, if you feel that that's the right decision or what you feel that needs to be done, go ahead and do it. I think we're having challenges you know, I feel like you want to come to me to make sure you're on the right track, but I just want you to take charge and get it done, if that makes sense.
Then we're solved. Because at the
It's
end of
that
the day,
easy,
it's
eh?
that because what I'm doing is I'm getting approval at certain points to make sure, is this what you want? So I'll present, let's say, 2 options for something, and then I don't know. So that means I'm going back to look for another 2 options. If he's saying you pick one of those 2 options, then I go on to the next stage, which I am totally good with. But at a certain point, it's their product, it's their thing. So I want to make sure it's on the right track. And I also want to present options because there are other marketing factors that I'm not aware of. So for example, maybe there's a demographic that they want to hit. There's a certain market that they want to hit, whatever it is. There's a certain medium that they want it to occur in. This has to be for Facebook. This has to be for Instagram. This has to be whatever it is. So I have to make sure that it's fitting into the larger matrix of their overall marketing campaign, because the videos aren't the entire sum of their marketing. So when I'm asking these questions, I'm certainly not trying to slow things down. That is the last thing I want to do. I am excited and happy when it's moving along and I feel like we're closing and we're moving and we're closing and we're moving and there's momentum. That's, to me, when I'm at my best. So if I don't need to get approval on anything, I'm good.
How about this? You know, I think the one thing that we didn't do was actually sit down and spend a day, right, going over the deliverables, right, and figuring out exactly what needs to be done and when. Instead, we
And
just
how.
and we just jumped into it, right? And then now that I'm hearing you speak and I'm listening to you, I'm thinking of ways that it could have been done better, right? And
So, just before this last break, what I've been hearing, and you, Joni, fill in the blanks, you're trying to get them to hear each other, to not only understand what happened, why it happened. You're going into the interest area. Below, like the symbolism of an iceberg. We got to go below the waterline to explore and pull out not only the what, the why, the interest, the needs, the fears, concerns, etc. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay, so now you've got, it sounds like, from my hearing, that there's seems to be a movement amongst the two of them. A consideration that, hey, we may have not had all the information we needed to understand each other when we forged this relationship, and now we can create the conditions for that to happen from this process to then navigate afterwards. And then you'll work on that after we come back at the next break, right?